Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess. Capcom renews trademark for Dino Crisis. This comes from Chizai Watch, which is a service that tracks trademark filings in Japan. And on March 4th, they filed a new trademark for Dino Crisis, and then that was just revealed in the last couple days that they did that. There's usually a delay for something like that. A lot of these things that when I hear these tidbits, and I try to give all the information that I hear so people are aware. It's like, oh, okay, he's heard from someone who we trust that something like this is happening, but he doesn't know anything more. And that was definitely the case with Dino Crisis. I don't know anything beyond, hey, they are doing something with Dino Crisis. And then Exoprimal happened.
Yes.
And I just assumed, and I never really looked into this, I just assumed, oh, is this what, I was hearing about? Maybe some wires got crossed, and that turned out to be Exoprimal, which people don't remember, was that cooperative horde-based Capcom multiplayer online shooter that was much better than I think a lot of people gave it credit for. That's a pretty fun game. The one where it would like rain velociraptors. So I kind of put that in the back of my head, but I don't know why, because, sure, Exoprimal could have been confusing, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were going to turn to Dino Crisis at some point, because, Jan, they're gonna actually run out of Resident Evils to remake. And they're going to want to diversify. They're going to want to continue to grow and offer other options and maybe give Resident Evil a break here and there. They've had a lot of success not taking a lot of time between different Resident Evil products, but they know that can't last forever. So when they need a breather, being able to turn to, here is a remake of Dino Crisis in the style of the Resident Evil remakes, and then maybe eventually here's a new Dino Crisis. At a certain point, the circumstantial, evidence of that makes sense just makes sense, right?
Yes, 100%, Grubb. Alternatively, if we didn't see this Dino Crisis trademark filed, but we were talking about other franchises for Capcom to realistically try and remake and remaster, the Onimusha franchise is right there, kind of similar to the original RE games, and that could be something to adapt pretty well to their engine. But Dino Crisis, I was trying to compare dinosaurs to zombies, very different creatures, but the tension built up and ammo scarcity and the crisis involved could play really well into a remake and a remaster. There's also, funny enough, not a lot of dinosaur games out there.
Right.
The only other one
dinosaurs are just always popular, right?
Yeah, they're one of, I was gonna say they're one of those franchises, but I guess ideas similar to Power Rangers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where there's some type of dinosaur property that gets reshuffled every couple of years to garner a new audience. And I'm kind of surprised that video games have low-key fallen off of the dinosaur hype train, other than, I don't know, something like Ark, right?
Yeah, you're right. And I think Ark definitely was taking advantage of that, riding that wave, or it's not even a wave, it's just an ever-present thing, like you said. You're right that beyond that, it feels like there should be a lot more happening there. But I think a lot of times, unlike zombies, where it's just every game's we'll just use zombies, I think creatives feel like, well, there's one thing sort of using dinosaurs, and I think that that happens in movies where it's well, we can't, there's Jurassic Park and now Jurassic World, so we can't have a dinosaur thing as well. If we do, we're a B movie that's trying to just ape on what those movies were doing.
Sure.
And in games it seems kind of similar. It's well, Ark's already doing that, so we can't. I don't know, maybe because dinosaurs are hard to trademark or something. You can't trademark your Tyrannosaurus Rex. I suppose you can give it a name.
Sure.
But I don't know. I guess I'm trying to apply reverse engineering to why we haven't gotten as many dinosaur games as I assumed we would. But again, I think you go back to Capcom and they are running through Resident Evil, and they will still do a ton more Resident Evil. That will be the priority. As you pointed out, they have some Onimusha stuff happening now, and that seems to be the fork in the road that they did select was hey, let's go over here. And that's probably correct, because that does feel like it has a chance to grow in the same way Dragon's Dogma 2 did very well, and it was okay, this is a different thing that feels separate from all the other stuff we're doing in some ways, but still has some key Capcomness to it. Onimusha's in that vein, but I do think that when they take those teams that are experts at remaking old Capcom games, and they get through Code Veronica and 5 and 0, maybe even between some of those, they will look around and be like, let's just take Dino Crisis 1 and do that damn thing.
Yeah, I think it's about time as well. People have been jokingly clamoring for it for years. We've even seen, like, now that I think about it, there was an indie PT-like game with a T-Rex, I believe.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
And then I think like the developers had taken it off Steam or something, or were not supporting mods because they didn't want the dinosaurs to get modded into other content. But I think a new Dino Crisis would be a fresh take on the survival horror franchise. And yeah, there's a new Jurassic World movie coming out. I forget if it's in the World umbrella or it's in
I don't know either.
Series, but I think it's about time. We are also lacking for kaiju style games as well, and no one has really tried to fill that void. I feel like Capcom really does have all the tools because the creatures, the monsters in Monster Hunter already resemble dinosaurs. You just gotta slap a new coat of paint on some of those bad boys and you'll be good to go.
All right, well, we'll see if anything happens with Dino Crisis. Of course, we are reading into a trademark filing, and that's, it's fun to do on a show like this. It's my preferred way to talk about something like this because I like to be optimistic and believe things can happen. There is always the possibility that this is just a lawyer on the team doing their job, looking at a calendar, being like, oh, okay, time to go do some housekeeping, looking at the Dino Crisis trademark, being like, oh, we should just renew that to be safe. That way, I'm keeping busy, doing something productive, making sure that nothing bad happens with this trademark where it expires, and then we're in a weird position. And maybe that is Occam's razor here, but I think if you go a little bit further, I'm like, actually, the Occam's razor of the simplest solution is make a new Dino Crisis. It feels very probable, so we'll see.